Hello, everybody. Welcome to the third edition of What Happens Next. As you all know, in this series, we look at the future of the arts as we speak to several arts professionals and creative people from all disciplines, be it artists, art entrepreneurs, arts managers, funders, designers from all over the globe about how we are all managing during this coronavirus lockdown. I'm Praniti Ramadurai, and I'm a program coordinator at SNS Arts Development Consultancy. I'm also a Bharatanatyam dancer. I'm very happy to introduce you all today to our guest speaker. He is a brilliant, young, talented Carnatic musician, the flautist, J.A. Jayanth, or Flute Jayanth, as he is popularly known. Just a little more background about Jayanth. Jayanth is one of the most sought after Carnatic musicians and flautists in the fraternity. An artist with brilliant mastery and technique, he is the grandson and disciple of the acclaimed flautist, late T.S. Shankaran, who was the prime disciple of the legend Flute Mali. Hello, Jayanth.
Hi, Pranati. How are you? Thanks so much for the lovely introduction. Thanks for having me in your show and part of the series.
It is our pleasure because it is a difficult time for all of us, and we wanted to speak to you and see how you are managing your work during this lockdown and pandemic. So diving right in, how has the lockdown been treating you? What have you been doing during this time?
So, number one, as you said, it's such difficult times that all of us are going through together. And firstly, this lockdown, and ever since the COVID situation kind of engulfed, the humanity. It's basically given me a lot more time to look back and rework on certain aspects of my music and flute playing that I have been wanting to in the past maybe 2-3 years. Because something that as an artist you yourself would know or would have experienced or would want to kind of evolve from time to time. And it's very important that as artists that want to sustain for a longer period of time, we need to keep kind of reinventing ourselves. So on that note, lockdown has, I look at lockdown as something positive that has happened, that has come by. So I have been having a lot of time to sit and practice and rework on my techniques, improve on my repertoire, and just try out different ragas that I have been wanting to play for a long time, which are very difficult on the instruments. So there are certain ragas which are very easy to sing, but to kind of execute those ragas through the flute is quite demanding, because it also needs a very different kind of a technique, understanding, and the implementation of that raga on the flute or any instrument for that matter. It's obviously very easy to play the basic alapane of the raga, just having the notes, the fundamental gamakams and stuff. But then to reach the level of standards of it being sung for about 10 minutes, so that needs a lot of technical expertise too, and also a lot of jnanam. So you need to be well equipped musically at the same time on the instrument. So I have been making use of this time working on such ragas. That, and then I used to practice karate when I was young, when I was much younger. So I've been doing a bit of that, and then reading some books, like how uh, you know anybody would. I'm a big fan of reading works that are an autobiography or a biography on someone else. So I've been reading Ragamala, which is an autobiography of sitar legend Pandit Ravi Shankarji. So I've
Wow.
been reading that, listening to a lot of cinema music and things like this. So also watching a lot of TV shows, something that I have never done in the past. So I've been doing that and binge watching, bit of Netflixing and
So you were never one to actually sit and watch a lot of TV shows before? Is that what you're
oh,
saying?
never. We haven't had television in our home since 2007 or since 2006. So I'm not really the kind that would sit watch TV shows and like while away time like that. And I also teach, so I have been having my Skype lessons. So that's how uh, I have been spending the past 2.5 months.
So this is how the day in Jayanth's life during the lockdown looks like.
I know right now it does seem to be a bit interesting, but I just wish and hope this doesn't become a routine in such a way that I get bored of it, and the rebel in me asks me to step out. So I just hope it remains and goes slow pace the way it's been.
We do need to take this time to look at, reflect at what we've done till now and kind of reinvent ourselves as artists. So, speaking
Absolutely.
about reinventing yourself and working on new things, recently you released this music video on YouTube um, called Raga Sudharasa, right?
Yeah,
Please, could
exactly.
you tell me more about it?
Oh, so as you are aware, musicians are moving towards the digital platform. So that's where one way of kind of connecting ourselves to the rasikas, and also rasikas want to listen to concerts. So there have been organizations that have been curating online concerts. So some of the concerts are from where we are. So I sit here and I perform and it goes live up on Facebook. And then some of the organizations have come up with this module wherein you send them recorded content, and then they uh, kind of telecast it to the members through Zoom.
Mm.
So that's one of the several ways in which technology is being used in order to kind of minimize the distance, the gap between the performers and rasikas. But something that I thought about as early as April, when organizers started to kind of get in touch with you asking for Facebook concerts. One, this is a kind of process that is still under evolution, that's just begun. So it's going to take time for it to find a place. And then, but I just thought, Facebook Live is just not the only option, because the sound quality isn't great, the video quality is not great, and then there's a lot of issues from the performers and from the rasikas and in terms of connectivity. So it doesn't really give music the way in which
Production quality is not very high.
exactly, because all that we can do, so no one is to be blamed, but it's just that you need to activate your think tank and try to progress from where it's begun. So I just thought, why not we record some good quality content in terms of music, in terms of video, and also audio. And then why not, keep myself active on the social platform through uploading these, from time to time. So it was just one such. So Raga Sudarasa happens to be one of my favorite compositions, which was popularized by greats like Jane Balasubramanian sir, M.L. Vasanta Kumari. Um, it's in Raga Andolika. So I just thought I'll start with that. And also, rather than presenting music in the form of a concert virtually, I think Rasikas or listeners from anywhere in the world do not have the patience and the time, even though there is so much time at disposal as we would think. But there are working professionals that are working tirelessly day in and day out. So nobody has the time to sit through a 2 hour concert or a 1 hour concert also. So I just thought, why not we kind of come up with, just uploading one song at a time, so that there's more audience retention, and also it so a person that wants to just probably relax for like 5 to 10 minutes is able to watch that within the stipulated time. So rather than they holding the rest of the part for later, for a view, for watching it later. So I just thought, why not we come up with this, and just so happened.
Very, very interesting. Great idea, actually. Our audience attention span is also quite less, right? So, like you said, nobody wants to sit through 1 hour or 2 hours of programs, right?
Exactly.
Much so
Also,
that,
I would probably think from my own perspective. So if I were to sit at home and listen to a complete concert in one stretch for 2 hours, I would do that as a musician, as a student of this art. But if I were a mere rasika, I have my own chores to finish on a daily basis. So I wouldn't really sit through a 2 hour concert. So I just thought, we can just convert that into capsules, and then maybe provide it to listen. It's something that people have been doing for quite some time. I have done it myself in the past, but I just thought I can revive my YouTube channel with this, and it just happened organically.
absolutely. Now, speaking about going digital and going live, these live performances have seemed to become the new trend. Everybody's going live and on either on Instagram or Facebook or whatever social platform. I too did just go live a few days ago. So what is your take on sustainability through these live performances?
Firstly, I think this is just the new reality. It's going to be like this for some time. But I would also want to say that virtual concerts are in no ways a suitable alternative to listening to a live concert, because especially with Indian classical music, there's a lot that transpires between the musician and the rasika.
Absolutely.
And even if in terms of numbers you don't have a full house, even if you don't have 800 capacity auditorium filled, even if you have like 250 people, 300 people, there's a lot of interaction that happens between the musicians on stage and the rasikas sitting in front of you, which is absent through say a virtual concert. um, Even though there's a lot of positive vibes and interaction happening between the musicians, the presence of audience in front of you
Audience
acts like a catalyst.
bounce off their energy.
Yeah,
Yes.
one sabash or one aha bale, whatever, the way in which they react, the applause, the sound, everything, it just, it acts as an external
We,
stimulus maybe. Yeah.
yeah.
So this in no ways is, according to me, a suitable alternative for a live concert. But at the same time, I think until and unless the medical experts they come up with a vaccine for COVID, I think this is going to be the norm. So maybe for the next 1 year or so, I think this is how it's going to be, and musicians need to adapt, accept, adapt, change. I have always believed and said that an artist needs to be like water. We need to kind of adapt ourselves to wherever we are. It's like how we would adapt ourselves to our own expectations, right? We go to perform in a stage as big and as prestigious as Music Academy, and what if the hall is not filled with rasikas to what you expect? Even if it is half full, or the tickets aren't sold out, like 70% is sold out, you kind of understand and adapt that, okay, this was your expectation, it isn't happening. Or it could happen vice versa, you expect like about 200 people, rather you have a full house, so you adapt immediately. So I think it's one such way in which we have to adapt. And this is also a kind of a learning personally for me, that nothing is like eternal for eternal. So change is the only constant. So I think musicians need to be well equipped and sophisticated enough for themselves to change, adapt to the situation around them.
I absolutely, completely, 200% agree with you about a lot of things that you said. First, when you were talking about how the people, the artists on stage interact, I can only remember a few of your programs which I watched. I was with my guru, and we were discussing. I remember this very clearly because we were discussing about how you and the violinist and the mridangist were sort of competing against each other. You know, healthy competition and enjoying the whole process of it,
Exactly. The
and
process
that
of it.
communicated to the audience. So as an
Absolutely.
audience member, we enjoyed it more. So
Right.
that was really something that I can relate to, and that is something which virtual performances can never replace.
Can never replace. Also, one of the reasons why it cannot replace is, with people in front of us, in a live concert for an audience, what happens is there's this tendency to take a risk, So I don't really plan my concerts. I do plan in the sense to ensure that I don't repeat compositions that I have played. If it is Margari season in Chennai, so you end up doing like 15, 16 concerts. So I don't want to sound repetitive. So there's a lot of thinking that goes, but what exactly am I going to perform, and how exactly am I going to build through the concert is something that no musician probably prepares himself or herself to do. So a lot of that also depends on the audience, the way in which the audience react. You play a slow number, a meditative number, and they like it, they don't like it. It can happen that the same song on in two different venues on 2 different days, produce or come out with a different kind of a reaction from the audience's end. So what do you present next in order to, kind of get them back, get their attention back? So there's a lot of thinking that goes. So the moment you do a virtual concert, it is more planned because time is a constraint. It's been shortened much more than what 2-hour concert would offer you. And secondly, you don't want to risk anything because it's going to be documented. And
True.
that's going to be the only concert of yours that's going to show up on social media for, say, depending upon however long you would want it to be retained on social media. So there's a lot of planning that undergoes. So the process of recording a virtual concert has a lot of tension. It doesn't really let you enjoy it like how you would enjoy performing a live concert for audience. So that's one of the differences that I experience myself.
Especially when for an artist, I mean for a dancer myself on stage, sometimes you just let go, right? Most of the times you're just able to let go and feed off the energy of the accompanying artist as well as the audience,
Right.
which of course you can't really do on your phone or your laptop, which you're on your device that you're recording
Recording, yeah.
your music on. So you said another thing about how as artists we should be like water, we should be able to adapt anywhere and everywhere, which is also something which we all agree with. I mean, I agree with. Who even thought that suddenly we'll all be forced into going digital, right?
Exactly.
We always used that thought of YouTube and Facebook as another tool to promote, but we didn't think that that would be the only platform for putting
Primary platform to
out
exhibit
there.
the talent. Yeah.
So speaking about the digital live performances, how do you think that we as artists can combine to have audiences pay for these live performances?
Yes. So I think there are a couple of platforms now that have kind of come up with this paid online concerts, which definitely is a good move towards where it should be heading. As I said, it still is something very, very new, both to the music fraternity and also to the Rasikas. Um, I think it needs to be welcomed, but then for it to be welcomed and accepted and to kind of gain a reputation like how we would want it to, I think it'll take some time because number one, Rasikas is so used to enjoying free music, and there is so much of free content up on social media, uh, that it's very difficult for Rasikas to fathom the fact that you know paid concerts should also happen, or would rather become um the way forward. But there are, that said, there are Rasikas that are very, very keen on paying to watch online concerts. There are some that don't understand that. I think we probably should leave it to time to let it, undergo this process of evolution, and then see what the outcome is. For instance, concerts, uh, Ranjani Gayatri,
Mm, mm.
so they have done a concert for Concert, which is a paid online platform. And there are a couple of other platforms that I have been looking around, and I think I would be working with one of them. So they also have this concept of wherein they provide you with a platform where the artist can perform, and then people will have to pay a certain amount in order to be able to uh, watch the concert. And they apparently also have this very interesting feature wherein there's a concept of green room. So the artists, the Rasikas that do pay to watch the concert can also have an access to the artist's green room. So they can have a kind of an interactive session with the artist too. So things like these are coming up now. So we are relatively just about 2-3 months into the situation, and the fact that the platforms are encouraging online paid concerts within 3 months is quite encouraging. So I think this probably will go on for the next 1 year or so. And also sabas should, not all concerts are paid concerts, right? Even during Margari or other time of the, not all concerts are paid concerts. So I think there has to be a certain balance which the sabas need to strike in order to bring in a good ratio of paid concerts as opposed to free concerts. So I think there's a lot of thinking that needs to go in. There's a lot of time that people will have to devote. So I think we just need to wait and watch as to what pans out in the next 3-4 months.
Absolutely. And like you said, it's only been 3 months, 3, 4
3
months.
months into the queue, yeah.
You've already come up with so many new platforms and modules to get through this difficult time. Necessity is the mother of invention, right? So I'm sure our Facebook and Instagram and YouTube will be creating new things for us to make our process a little easier.
Exactly. And also the fact that I think musicians collectively should, musicians, organizers, the fraternity collectively should probably take a stand on what is good for musicians to do, and kind of have a certain method in which we could move forward. Maybe having some sabas work together in order to give life to this idea of striking a balance between paid concerts and free concerts. I think there's a lot of thinking that has to go behind it. So we need a think tank, that really works around this idea and gives it life, so that it becomes reality at some point in time.
Very, very true. So you were saying that there's a lot of content on social media and everybody is just posting a lot out there. How do you think that as artists we can be smart in posting on these digital platforms in order to be relevant and stand out?
Social media presence is good, but how do you make your presence felt is also very, very important. And I don't really think about this because I do what my instinct would ask me to do. So I want to post YouTube recordings that span like 5 to 6 minutes. I want to do that. I want to keep my YouTube channel active. At the same time, I'm uploading good content is what I think. There might be people that think why to do this after all? But you can always keep questioning each other, and that's not the point. I think it's very important that as a musician, also personally, it's not good to have free content up on social media, because one might think, a younger musician might think it is giving him visibility. Visibility is definitely there, but he or she isn't supposed to make themselves so visible that they're just a tap away or a click away. So it's about striking a balance. I think it's all very relative, and you really cannot have hard fast rules to chart out saying you are supposed to do this, you're supposed to do this. So I think every musician is smart in his own right, and they do what they feel is right for them to do. But it's very important that a musician does not undersell himself or herself. So musicians should not lowball themselves. So they need to be very sure of what they're doing and what they're committing themselves to, and then how they plan themselves for the next maybe 1 year or so. And how do they make people come for their concerts after all this is over?
Very true.
So
But also, how I look at it, the more content you put out there, you're kind of decreasing the value of your art, because you're posting free content, right? Like, say today I post like 10 dance videos today, then what's the value of someone coming and attending my performances if it's all going to be there on my Instagram or Facebook profile?
or Facebook. I had a very interesting conversation with one of the organizers. He's been into this for the past maybe 25 years. Very seasoned organizer and a Rasika. Uh, so he's one of the organizers that I have had chatted about what the future looks like. So he was telling me something very interesting, because um, also world over there's a complete economic shutdown. So you don't have the kind of money flow that you had. So now, after musicians putting up so much of their content up on social media, and in a quest to make themselves relevant and to have themselves seen, uh, when the revival happens, the live concerts start happening, organizers will probably not pay as much as they were paying the artists beforehand, because the organizer would always come up with an excuse of not having enough money, or he can probably ask you something as simple as this on your face, that you were uploading free content, why do you ask for so much money all of a sudden? So that's one very interesting point that he came up with as an organizer. So this is not something that I came up with. So that's also a very important perspective from the organizer's end. The way an organizer would look at you or the art, or the relevance of the art in itself. Forget artists. So artists come after the after art. So it's art that makes artists. So that's one. Number two, also musicians, we talk of how they want to make themselves relevant and visible. I think as artists, that is something that doesn't really cross our mind. What we want to do is put our music, our art form, for public display, and that very quality to show our talent makes us artists. So you as a dancer, I as a flautist musician, we can't sit idle at home. So you want to ensure that people watch your art form, because you have put in a lot of practice. There has been so much of sacrifice from your end, from your parents' end. Maybe they wanted you to become something else, you have become this. So I think both as an organizer and an artist, we stand absolutely corrected from where we are. So we speak for ourselves, and I think we are pretty much justified. So you tend to justify yourself from where you are. So I as an artist want to display my art. I want to showcase my art, and I'm doing it because I can't sit idle at home. I'm an artist. I'm a performer. I'm used to performing.
You're a
So
creative person.
creative person. So I think the point of whether one wants to be relevant or visible, it comes because of this drive. Because as creative musicians, dancers, artists, we want our work to be seen by people. So, and also organizers are pretty much thinking from their perspective, because that's how they are supposed to think. So I think we are good where we are, but just that the system has to fall in place. I think with time, system will eventually fall in place.
Very, very true, Jayanth, and very interesting also to see it from an organizer's point of view. So, speaking about going digital and moving into a digital era, you are the grandson and disciple of late Sri T.S. Shankaran. So naturally you come, you carry your legacy and a musical and artistic legacy which you are taking forward. How do you plan to take this legacy forward with the digital era, into the digital era?
Yeah, so I think firstly, we should all be very thankful that we are a part of this digital era. So the world has shrunk, and it's our responsibility to ensure that we make this art reach as many deserving people as possible across continents, across states, caste, creed, and stuff like that. So I do teach on Skype, and I'm very choosy with my students, picky with whom I teach, because uh, I value my time. I'm saying this because there are people that want to learn this for time pass. There are people that uh, just want to do it because they have loads of time at their disposal, and also they're not really showing any progress. So I really cannot take such people that don't show any progress. So I have some very committed students, ranging from someone that is 7 years old to someone that is 63 years old, 64 years old.
Wow.
So they're all very, very fascinated by flute as such, and by Carnatic music. I also teach a couple of students that learn the bansuri, the Hindustani flute.
Oh, wow.
So I also teach. So I love teaching because I think it's one way of giving back to the society. And number two, a flute as such does not have as many students or takers as say violin would have, or vocal music would have. This is not a complaint, but I think this is alarming, because flute is one of the oldest instruments and it's supposed to have more takers. One, it is a very tough instrument to master. I have always believed and said that flute playing is the art of mastering an imperfect instrument, because no flute is perfectly calibrated. So, so I would like to make a lot of students through Skype, and the ones that are very sincere and that are talented, and also they want to, this the craving for them to learn and then to listen to a lot of music. It's just not important for students to just do that 1 hour of class or 2 hours of class a week and then just practice that whatever is being taught. It's important that students also Google, look up for things, references, and compare how this has been played by 10 different flautists. What is the importance of having things like understanding the sound of the instrument. They don't really understand the technicalities and the nuances of an instrument, even though they listen to violin in probably every other concert that they attend. Be it a flute concert, there's a violin. Be it a vocal concert, there's a violin. Violin duets, violin solos,
Dance concert as a violin.
violin. Orchestra has violin. Cinema music has violin, but they still Rasika still are probably not well educated or informed about the technicalities of violin. So, someone that I am playing along with, he plays something really beautiful, something that's so tough. is not really appreciated, I feel bad, because he's done something that's worth applauding or worth mention after the concert is over. So there are finer aspects of instrumental playing, instrumental nuances that rasikas need to be educated with. How does that happen? That happens with more number of people learning that particular instrument. So there's so much of detailing and knowledge about vocalists, about the voice culture, vocal. Oh, in the voice baritone irukku, oh, adu konjam shrilla irukku. These are certain technical terms that you can always overhear Rasikas talking about, but that doesn't happen with flautists. Because they probably don't know the difference between the tone, the sound, the technical mastery, and the switching of bass flutes, multiple flutes. So there's a lot of technicalities that Rasikas need to be educated with. So I wish to bring about such changes maybe um, in the
That's
next within the
very,
next
very
20 years.
intriguing. It's very intriguing because, like what you said, I expose myself to a lot of kacheris, be it music concerts or dance concerts. I would say I actually attend more music concerts than dance
Yes,
concerts.
yes.
I feel it's important. So,
Absolutely.
so like what you said, a lot of technicalities I don't know much about the nuances and the mastery of technique in the violin or the
Or
flute.
the
It's just
mridangam,
that it sounds
or the
good.
ganjira.
So sometimes I have caught myself telling someone, how did he or she do that? Did you see that? I don't know what it's called, but you know, it was
Yes.
it was so nice. But yeah, I didn't know how to put a term for it. And like you
Right.
said, we do need to be educated with
Yeah,
these
and
terms.
it's not a mistake on the Rasika's part. You need to be so sure of where you place the flute, like under your lip, where exactly is it positioned, and how are you holding the flute. And you are not supposed to make compromises with the tone in order to align to the pitch.
Mm,
How long are you able to sustain the breath? So simpler, details like these. I think it's high time instrumentalists, and also when I say instrumentalists, I'm also talking about the percussion players. So when live concerts revive, I think there has to be a change um, in the way in which a Carnatic concert is projected. So I think either the first 15 minutes or the last 15 minutes of a concert, it needs to be more like a workshop, not a workshop exactly per se, but an interactive session wherein the artist explains what they sang and any technical prowess like the Graha Bedam or a rare composition or a rare raga or a raga malika in RTP. For example, these are examples that I'm giving. So, and about their respective instruments, about the ghatam, about the ganjira, the violin, what did they do differently, and what is their contribution to the instrument as such. So I think it's time Carnatic musicians start talking about all this and educate their own primary rasikas that they cater to at least 40-50 times a year.
thank you for that perspective, Jayanth. So that's how you plan on carrying forward your legacy. And it's very nice to know that you have a handful of committed students who you teach your valuable form and style of music too. Now, being a globe trotter, I'm sure you must have had a number of shows and tours planned for this year. Now,
Yeah,
with the pandemic and lockdown, it all would have changed.
yeah.
How have you rethought the year, the next year, and have reworked your plan for 2020-21?
So I must say that this year started off with a bang because I had I think about 4 international tours and a lot of important concerts, right? So I mean every concert is important, but certain concerts are like milestones that you probably wanted to perform. Oh, I want to perform here, things like that. So the year started with a bang, and as soon as the COVID news broke out, so one by one came shutting. So. Um So what most of the organizations have nailed is, it's postponed indefinitely. So we're not really sure of when it's going to happen. So I haven't really thought about any concerts now. Um, I'm focusing more on the learning musically, and practicing the right way, and bringing about changes, trying different things in my practice sessions. So I'm focusing on that, and I haven't really thought about any of these concerts or tours. So I probably will take it when it comes. I have no expectations now, and I'm just doing my happy doing my music on a daily basis. And I think it's better if we don't really think, uh, beyond the next 2 months or 3 months to come. And I'm sure when things fall in place, all these concerts will line up and things will happen many folds better for all of us.
Very, very nice, very interesting. So you're just going to keep doing what you're doing. Stick to reinventing yourself, teaching a handful of students, posting out
Yeah.
content on YouTube.
I have decided to be a karma yogi. Just do your karma and don't expect anything in return.
That's funny. Nice. Very nice to know. So now we've come to actually our end of the conversation. What would be your one message to all musicians and artists out there during this difficult time?
Oh, simple. I think we musicians are very smart, we are clever, and things have changed from what it was like 50, 60 years back. We are all well educated, and we are tech savvy. So I think all of us are aware that we just need to take it by the day and work hard, work smart, and be very patient. So something that I have learned is to be patient. So I think musicians, I think all of us need to just probably be patient, and we got to pray every day that things fall in place, not only for us but also for thousands of the medical workers, people that are with the medical field, who are working tirelessly day in and day out. So prayers for their well-being, and I just hope things fall in place. So yeah.
Thank you for that wonderful, insightful conversation, Jayanth. With that, we come to an end of our episode and conversation for what happens next. If you have any questions regarding our conversation, please do reach out to Jayanth on his Facebook or Instagram handles, or myself, Praniti Ram, on my Facebook or Instagram handles, or even just the SNS Arts Development Consultancy social media handle. Thank you once again. Look forward to seeing you all on our next episode for What Happens Next.
Hi, Jayanth. Thank you for joining us again. And what a metamorphosis it's been in the last 45 minutes, not only for the audience, but clearly for you too.
Thank you so much, Shreya. And yeah, I do agree with you. A lot of change.
One of the reasons I think for our audience who might be wondering, hey, what is this new segment that we're having, is that we've been doing this, What Happens Next, I don't know if you know, Jayanth, now for a couple of months, where we've been speaking to many different people from all stratas of society about their form and their craft, and about the arts, and what are the next steps they are taking to safeguard themselves. And I think now that we go into edition 3, so this is the first episode of edition 3 of What Happens Next, we're moving into a slightly different format of producing these conversations. And we've also decided to have, it's called the support series, where we're trying to support and lend our support to different organizations, to individual artists, to various different people who we like to, I think, shed the spotlight on. And let people know, because there are so many people who need support, not just financial support, but it could be, through following them on Instagram, through sharing their content. It could be in any ways.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
So now that you're here, and I know, being who you are, you're somebody who's very cognizant of the environment around you and of all the people who help you be who you are and the artist who you are. So is there anybody in particular that you'd like to give a shout out to or support through this series today?
Absolutely, Shreya. So being a flautist, I think I would really want to support my flute maker. So I mean, I say he's my flute maker, but he's also many other flautists flute maker too. He's one of the most talented Carnatic flute makers that lives down south in a place called Dindikal, which is away from Chennai. And ever since the lockdown, kind of happened, so we basically tend to, get our bamboos from forests in Kerala and Karnataka. So because of the lockdown, he's not been able to travel to any of these places from where he could actually fetch bamboos, because he can manufacture flutes only when he has enough bamboo storage with him. And also several other factors such as, the courier services are closed, there are no post offices and stuff. So even the online orders that that have been coming his way, it's not been really helping him in order to make any money. So the last time I spoke to him, he was telling me, there's been no business ever since Feb, which is like good 5 to 6 months.
Right.
And knowing the amount of, knowing him for about 18 years now, close to 2 decades.
Oh, wow.
And he manufactures all my flutes. And it's his request that, I keep his identity kind of anonymous. He's one of the best Carnatic flute makers. And knowing the kind of effort that he puts into making each flute, for the kind of flautist that he manufactures them for. So it's essential that flutes are made depending on who plays them. So it probably is the same for other percussion instruments too, because you can't really make one instrument and ask several musicians to play on them. Right. But when we look at the process of making flute, it is much more tedious, because no flute is 100%, like the best made flute. So no flute is 100% perfect. So I call flute playing, as I just mentioned in the previous interview, I call flute playing the art of mastering an imperfect instrument, because if you were a flautist, the flute that you're playing might not suit me, because I have a different shape of my lower lip. My breathing capacity, my lung capacity isn't the same as yours. My fingers are longer than yours. They're probably slimmer than yours, or they're fatter than. So there are so many factors that come into, flute making. So the kind of hardworking person that he is, and then the general effort that goes into manufacturing of a flute is so very tedious. And, after I spoke to him, I felt very bad for him, and probably several other flute makers that I do not know of, or I do not buy flutes from. So I just thought, why not to help him in some sorts, also in a way in which I can probably, thank him for the yeoman service that he has been doing to all of flautist community and such.
Absolutely. And it's a system, right, that everybody has to be a part of in order for you to be who you are, or in order for you to have concerts all around or even for us as the audience to witness your performance. I mean, I think many times we don't take into consideration that entire ecosystem that has to work and dedicate their life to what they
absolutely. Absolutely. It is really sad when, instrumentalists, they don't really give due credits to their instrument makers, because right from the process of selecting bamboos, in fact it starts wherein you have to cut the bamboo at the node. So if I play flutes of different sizes, which is a challenge in itself, so when you go to a forest, I have been to the forest with my flute maker, and I've seen the process of doing it. Firstly, you have to brave against the mosquitoes that you find in forests, big thick mosquitoes that really ensure that you go through hell. Number one. Number two, you don't have a proper place to sleep, a proper place to stay. And thirdly, you run out of your food, you run out of water. So you need to be there at least for 2-3 days. And number four, you have to bribe certain people in order to be able to walk yourself into the forest, which is not illegal, but the system as such. So it's unfortunate that you have to bribe. So there's a lot of money that goes there. Then you look for the kind of flutes, the bamboos that you require based on the kind of orders you have. So if you have more number of bass flutes, that people have asked for, so you have to look for the longer notes. So right from the process of cutting the bamboo at the node. So the node is the point. So you have seen a flute.
Yeah.
So the node is the other end of the flute, which is closed. So the other end remains open. So right from there on to fetching about 250-300 different sizes of bamboos, and then to dry it. So a bamboo has a lot of water retention. So the first process is to get it dried. So it dries, and it's unfortunate that no matter how efficient or experienced you are as a flute maker, the extent to which a bamboo shrinks is something that you cannot gauge out of what you see, right? And after doing all this, you manufacture about 100 flutes for, say, pitch D sharp. I play D sharp, of which only 25 flutes are properly tuned, because the calibration is never perfect. So there's always a margin for error. So the flute maker traveling all the way to the forest, spending 2 to 3 nights there, bribing people for him to get through something that he has to, and which is not something illegal. And then to come back and manufacture, put in so much of effort, to dry the bamboo, then to disinfect it, then to polish it, varnish it, make holes, calibrate it. There's so much. It's all scientific, actually.
Absolutely.
It's like how scientists, in space, they assume something to be X first in order to make any exploration of sorts. So it's very close to that. And then only 25 flutes are good enough, to be taken to the flautist. You go to the flautist, so depending upon who wants which kind of a flute. So there's a lot of factors, right? So to brave all this, and then in the end, you manufacture 100 flutes, of which 5 of them is sellable.
The non-pandemic time is admirable, right? Because it's so much effort.
It's so much. Yeah, there's so much effort. So when he was telling me that, he hasn't had any business in the past 6 months, that kind of made me feel very, very sad. And I also asked him if, I can place some orders. And that's when he told me, even if you place an order, I can't, send it across, because number one, I don't have the bamboos. Number two, there's no means through which I can get it sent to you. So I just thought this probably is the right opportunity for me to possibly do something for him.
Fantastic. Thank you for bringing that up. I really, really admire the fact that you're even acknowledging the fact that we need to support somebody. And that's why we really like the work you do, and like you too, Jayanth, and we really like supporting you in all your endeavors, including your recent
so much
coming out very soon. But quickly, I just want to understand, how much does roughly a flute cost?
Okay, so that depends on the size of the bamboo. So it could be anything between, say, 1,000 rupees to 8,000 rupees.
Oh, okay.
So the tinier ones, that the smaller ones, which also sound squeaky, which also sound a bit shrill to the ears, so they cost less. But as a matter of fact, it's such an irony. The smaller the flute, it's more difficult to make it. Okay. So a flute typically costs anything between, say, 800 rupees, 1,000 rupees to about 8,000 to 10,000.
And how many flutes do you own?
Oh, I have about 250, 300 flutes.
Oh, wow. Really?
Because I have, I have always had the habit of collecting flutes. So when I see him open, like, 20, 30 flutes, I have always had this ability to kind of distinguish the better ones, just with the sight of it. So I see them and I'm like, just give me these. And I would just play, and it will so happen that, those are the best of the lot. So I usually have the habit, even if I don't have a need for them, I have the habit of buying it and keeping it with me. Also because, older the bamboo, the more nicer it sounds because it is seasoned.
Sure, it is. Hmm.
Yeah. So that's something that, that's a magic that's in bamboos, right? So, and it doesn't happen with all bamboos though. It's just a specific species of bamboo that has that nature. So I have been buying flutes, and I have this habit of collecting flutes. So if I go to, say, Delhi, so I have this habit of going there and buying, a couple of flutes from, the leading flute maker there, for instance. And then I go to America, and then I saw these Kina flutes, the Inca flutes. So those are the vertical ones, and then it just has a kind of a small spacing here, so you need to play it straight, more like the recorder. Then I went to Scotland about 5 years back. I got a penny whistle from there and an Irish weasel. So I have this habit of collecting flutes, but the Carnatic flutes as such, I have about maybe 250 to 300 flutes.
And so the ones when you have to actually play, how you have like maybe 5 or 8 that you use regularly for playing concerts?
I use about 5 flutes. I use the normal one, then about 3 bass flutes, the double bass, and a smaller one. So about 6 different types of flutes.
These are all just questions because I'm very interested that I'm asking. But for sure, without the maker, I mean, I can't imagine. And I think right now it's a question of livelihoods, right? And, it's important because for whatever reason, if he doesn't pass it on to his next, his lineage and other people, or train any others who would like to learn how to make this instrument, or even if he decides after this pandemic that this is not worth it and he'll
absolutely
become, even if it's just a normal job, I think it's a huge loss for us, and which is
definitely
strong reason why we need to stand and support the community and everybody within, at least to survive. I think it's a question of how do we survive? Everybody has 3 meals to eat, everybody is happy and at home. Well, happy is a strong word, but at least at home and safe, and not worrying about what's going to happen next month, because I know at the beginning of every month is when most artists and everybody who's kind of been affected by this pandemic, you feel the heat in the beginning of the month.
Absolutely, without any doubt. I mean, even though I'm young, I feel it too. There's a lot of difference between what it was pre-March and what it is now. So I'm sure people much older with responsibilities and with family, I'm sure it's very, very tough on them.
And he has a family?
Oh yeah, he does.
Right. So another strong reason we need to also support him and his family. But we will definitely do our best. And I would urge our audience and everybody who's watching it, it can be as small as 50 rupees and 100 rupees. It can be as big as, well, nothing is big, 10,000.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I very humbly request all of you watching this to donate generously. And it is for a cause. And also, it is towards something and someone that's adding so much value to life and contributing in such a nice way to the society. You listen to flute music everywhere, be it a solo concert or an orchestra or a cinema recording or a dance recital. So, you find flute music everywhere, and flute makers are the backbone. So I request all of you to donate as generously as possible.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jayanth. Thank you for taking this time out to re-record this bit and for our audience. And like he said, ladies and gentlemen, please do DM him or DM us, either one of us, and we'll happily share his account information. Simple Google Pay or whatever would work. or if there's anyone else who who would like to support him as well, we would be happy by any of your gestures. Thank you, Jayanth, and
Absolutely, my pleasure.
And fingers crossed, hopefully we will be able to help him and help him get through this pandemic with the rest of us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Thank you.